Bats in the Attic. Introduction. When I was 9 years old, I spent the summer visiting my great-grandmother, whom I called Gram. She lived in a large gray cedar shakes house by the ocean. Gram let me pick which upstairs bedroom I wanted to stay in. So I chose the yellow one because its window faced the beach. I had many adventures that summer, including ones with horseshoe crabs, sandcastles, and ants. My latest adventure began when I heard some strange sounds out of my bedroom window. I looked out and saw winged creatures flying around the side light. These brown flying animals seemed to fly back and forth from the house. I thought Gram's house might have bats in the attic. Research. I had never climbed up the steep stairs to the third floor, but Gram had told me it was her attic. The strange sounds outside made me curious about what was in that part of the house. I decided to tell Gram about the bats the next morning. I planned to ask her if Jim could go with me to see how the bats were getting into the house. Jim was Gram's friend who helped her with chores and around the house. He often stopped by to visit. The next morning, while having a breakfast of oatmeal with lots of maple syrup, I told Gram what I had seen and heard the night before. Gram said she didn't think the bats were living in the attic, but it would be a good idea to have Jim and me check it out the next time he came to visit. Gram suggested that I ride my bike to the library to read all I could about bats. I was surprised when she told me that she didn't want the bats to go away, but she didn't want them to live in her house either. The town's library was small, and the librarian knew me from previous visits. This summer I had read books about sandcastles, horseshoe crabs, and ants, as well as books about tides and the ocean. Now I wanted books about bats. The librarian helped me find many books, and I sat down to look through them. Some books were too difficult and some were too easy. I found 3 books that I thought would teach me what I wanted to learn, checked them out, and rode my bicycle home. Blind as a bat. Bats are very interesting creatures. I learned that they are divided into 2 categories, megabats and microbats. Megabats can have a wingspan of 6 feet. Thank goodness the bats at Gram's were microbats, which are about the size of a hamster. Microbats live where it is warm all the year, and they eat mostly fruit and nectar. Microbats live in many parts of the world and eat mostly insects. I was pretty sure Gram's bats were called Aptescus fuscus, or big brown bats. Once I read further, I learned one bat could eat 600 to 1000 mosquito-sized insects in an hour. Now I knew why Gram wanted to keep them near. I first suspected bats were related to mice, but I read that bats are more closely related to humans. A bat's wing is like a human's hand with four fingers and a thumb. Bat's armor has four, a forearm, an elbow, and an upper arm. Bats' fingers are long and have a double layer of skin connecting them. The skin is so thin you can almost see through it. Bats feed milk to their newborns, called pups, the same way the other mammals do. Bats, like all mammals, have hair or fur on their bodies, are warm-blooded, and have claws or fingernails. It was strange to think of those flying creatures outside my bedroom window as mammals. Obviously, they were not flying rats. I had heard the expression blind as a bat used by many people. In my reading, I found that the bats are not blind. They use their eyesight during daylight and early evening hours. At night, of course, they need more than sight to catch flying insects and to fly around without hurting themselves. They do this by using echolocation. A bat makes sounds from its mouth or nose that bounce off solid objects and echo back, which tells the bat the location of the object, including insects. Searching for bats. The next time Jim came for breakfast, I asked him if he'd go with me to look for bats in the attic. As we climbed the narrow, steep stairs, Jim told me not to touch any bats we found. I told him I had read that a few bats have rabies, but humans still should not touch or frighten them. Jim was glad I had done some research. He said it was good. We both knew what to do and what not to do to stay safe around wildlife. The attic was full of old things, such as furniture, boxes, and old pictures. Jim shone a flashlight onto the ceiling, looking for bats. We also looked all over the floor for bat droppings. We found nothing. The bat says to be living in the walls. In one of the books I have read, I learned how to remove bats from a house. The book said not to disturb bats during the summer months in case they were young pups that would not be able to follow their parents to a new home. Graham would have waited a couple more weeks until September to take steps to protect her house against any more bats living in it. I gave her the book that explained how to keep bats out so she'd know what to do. I asked Jim to help me build a bat house. The bat house would attract bats so they would stay near Graham's house to eat insects. When we were finished, Jim fastened the bat house near the edge of Graham's roof where I had seen the bats coming and going at dusk. I hoped the bats would learn to live in the new home we made for them. Claim digging. My summer was coming to a close. Labor Day was just a week away. I loved living at the shore and was not ready to leave. I missed my family and friends in the city, but I wished we lived closer to Graham. One evening, Jim and Graham told me they had a surprise for me. The next day, we were going to go claim digging. There was a full moon that night, which meant the tide would ebb or pull away from shore farther than usual. In the morning, we would be able to dig claims that were normally covered by the ocean. We would need to leave Graham's house by 6 a.m. Graham, Jim, and I had a quick breakfast of cereal and orange juice. We had a short drive to a secluded beach. When we arrived, Jim handed me a wire bucket and a jug of water. He carried a potato hoe that looked like a rake with its long ties and a, a big iron kettle. Graham carried a blanket and a picnic basket. Graham and Jim showed me which dimples or holes in the sand should yield claims. Jim would find a dimple, put the hole in the ocean side of the claim, and push down gently, bringing the sand out. It was my job to grab the claim and put it into the bucket. Claims dug down deeper into the sand to escape, so sometimes Jim had to keep digging. Claims are also defended themselves by shooting a stream of water out of the hole as we stepped near them. After a while, Jim handed me to the hole to try claim digging. I could not dig fast enough at first, but when I uncovered my first claim, I was high-fiving Graham and Jim with happiness. Graham would swoosh the bucket of claims in the ocean water to remove sand from their shells. Sometimes seagulls would see a claim snot near the surface, grab it, and fly off with it for a meal. I shoot the ghosts away when they came too near to our digging. Graham told me that we might dig up a few bloodworms, as their holes in the sand look very similar to claymores. I was very glad we didn't find a bloodworm that day. They can give humans nasty bites. Bone appetite. Once we had collected quite for a few claims, Graham and I looked for driftwood. We were at a private beach where we were allowed to build a fire. When we had our arms too full of all sizes of wood, we headed back to Jim. He had the bucket full of claims and was washing the last one in the ocean. Graham put the claims into our kettle and poured the jug of water over them to remove as much sand as possible. Jim built the fire, poured the water off the claims, and set the kettle atop the fire to cook. As the claims steamed, Graham sat on the blanket watching Jim and me make a sandcastle. Graham called us when the claims opened their shells. She put some salt, pepper, and butter on them. They were a grayish color when we dug them. Now cooked, they were almost white. Graham put one on a plate and showed me how to remove the skin on the snout. Then she gave it to me to eat. Bon appetit, said Jim. Enjoy. The clams were delicious with fresh bread and ice cold lemonade. This was the best meal I have ever tasted. Goodbye, Graham, Jim, and I went for a long walk on the beach and waded along the shore after our lunch of delicious clams. I was feeling sad that I would be soon taking the train back north to the city and home. Graham noticed that I was unhappy. She gave me a hug and told me not to worry. You'd be back soon, now that you have the sand in your shoes. Seagulls kept flying to a pair of huge rocks near me. Jim helped me climb to the top so I could see what the birds liked so much. On top, I found a small pool of water. I felt very tall standing on the rock. I could see far out into the ocean and up and down the beach. This was a perfect place for seagulls to perch. This was a perfect place for me to say my goodbye.